Welcome back to the Vale of Nightmares. In this entry, we are going to check in with Ethan and his romantic getaway he has planned. So sit back and enjoy the Crimson Vale. Part 1. The Arrival. Ethan pulled the truck up the narrow dirt path, the tires crunching over fallen leaves. The cabin stood nestled among the pines, smoke curling gently from its stone chimney. He turned to Mia, her dark curls bouncing as she laughed at some half-remembered joke. Her smile was sunshine, warm and grounding. The promise of a quiet, romantic weekend filled him with a rare peace. "Come on," he said, grabbing their bags. "Just us, no cell service, and all the s'mores we can handle." She kissed him, her lips soft and tasting of peppermint chapstick. "It's perfect, Ethan." The first day unfolded like a dream. They hiked along the river, built a campfire, and watched the stars prick the night sky. When they made love, it was slow and tender, the only sounds the crackling fire and their whispered promises. But by morning, everything changed. Part 2. The Vanishing. Ethan awoke to silence. He reached over, expecting to find Mia curled against him, but her side of the bed was empty. The sheets were cold. He sat up, groggy, rubbing his eyes. His hand came away smeared with something dark. Blood. His chest tightened. He flung the blanket aside, the bed a horror of crimson stains. The floorboards were slick with it, leading toward the door. His feet slipped as he scrambled out of bed, his breathing sharp and shallow. "Mia!" His voice broke. He stumbled into the hallway, the cabin swallowing his words. The front door hung ajar, swaying gently in the breeze. Beyond, the forest seemed to lean in, the trees gnarled fingers against a grey sky. "Jesus! Mia!" Outside, the dirt path was churned, muddy with blood, and something else, something raw. The trail led into the woods, and he followed, his steps uneven, each snap of a twig like a gunshot. Part 3. The Descent. Ethan moved through the woods, time slipping around him. His phone was useless, no signal. The screen cracked from when he had tripped and gone sprawling. His head throbbed, flashes of red and black dancing in his vision. His clothes were wet, the damp seeping into his skin. Images assaulted him. Mia's laughter, her smile, now twisted by fear. Her voice, the way it had whispered his name in the dark, now only echoes swallowed by the wind. He stumbled into a clearing, his knees sinking into the wet earth. His vision tunneled, and he found himself clawing at the ground, nails breaking as he dug into the soil. Something hard met his fingers, a wooden edge. He unearthed it, revealing a crude trapdoor. His pulse drummed in his ears as he pried it open, the hinges groaning. A ladder descended into the dark, the air below stale and cold. Without thinking, he climbed down, the earth swallowing him whole. Part 4. The Revelation. The chamber beneath the clearing was damp, the stone walls slick with moss and something darker. He moved deeper, the shadows swallowing the weak beam of his flashlight. His breathing echoed, sharp and fast, the sound of a man cornered. He reached the end of the tunnel, where the earth opened into a chamber. The smell hit him first, a rancid mix of decay and old blood. His light cut through the dark, revealing shapes slumped against the walls. Bodies. Women, their skin grey, their throats torn open. Their eyes, milky and lifeless, stared back at him. Their poses were twisted, arms outstretched as if they had died crawling, trying to escape. His knees buckled, and he retched, while burning his throat. "No! No, no, no!" His hands trembled as he raised the light, the beam dancing over the corpses. His mind reeled, flashes of Mia, her soft skin now cold and bloodied, her smile ripped away. And then he saw himself, not in the bodies, but in the shadows. He saw his own reflection, his face smeared with blood, his eyes black pits, the hunger staring back at him. He fell back, his flashlight skittering across the stone floor, plunging him into darkness. Memories broke through, violent, unstoppable. The taste of blood, the heat of it on his lips. His hands, strong and relentless, wrapped around soft skin. The sound of Mia's screams, muffled and wet. The others before her, names and faces lost in the fog of his own denial. He wasn't a man searching for a missing lover. He was the predator, the monster lurking in the woods. His humanity had been nothing but a thin veil, a mask to hide the beast within. Part 5. The Truth. Ethan rose, his body numb. His movements were slow, deliberate, as if he were an actor in a play, reciting lines he had forgotten. He gathered the bodies, arranging them gently, as if tucking them in for sleep. His fingers brushed against Mia's cold cheek, and he felt nothing. When he climbed back into the sunlight, he stood at the edge of the clearing, the wind pulling at his clothes. His mind was empty, a blank slate. He turned, walking back to the cabin, each step pulling the veil of humanity back over him. By the time he reached the porch, he was Ethan again, the man who loved Mia, who had lost her, who would never understand where she went. He sat on the steps, staring into the woods, the sun setting behind the trees. His hands were clean, his conscience clear. He would call the police, report her missing, play the grieving fiancé. And when the shadows grew long, and the hunger returned, he would find another lover, another story, another veil to wrap himself in, until the truth clawed its way back out. The end. I hope you enjoyed this terrible tale of lovers and grief. Ethan may have lost Mia, but he will surely find another. Until next we meet in the little digital haunt, have a great night. And remember, sometimes our monsters are just skin deep.